Hello, namaste everyone. I hope you guys are doing great. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to have the video on a very interesting topic, which I've of course gotten from you guys since I have posted a post on you guys giving me the questions or topics to make YouTube videos from. So I think most of the videos in the coming month are going to be related to what your questions are related to the content on astrology. Okay, so let's get started with it. But before that, if you guys are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe it and hit the bell icon so that you get regular updates. And also, if you would like to have your personal readings from me, you can check out the link in the description box, www.anmollastrology.com. Under the readings and unique reading section, you can book a personal reading for yourself. Also, there are online courses available under the courses section at the same website. If you want to learn astrology from me, you can go and sign up for those courses. Okay, so let's get started. Today's topic is when a planet is debilitated, but at the same time, it is retrograde. How do you understand that planet? How do you understand the effect, the results, anything that that planet has to do? So we are going to have a very generic information here, but remember, apart from what information I'm going to give about this placement, you need to see the houses they are placed in, the conjunction they are making, and of course, the aspects they are receiving. So these three are also the major things you need to look into. But what I'm going to discuss today is going to be generic for all of you, for like a mass amount of population. Okay, but of course, these predictions are going to be there, but it's like that when you see the conjunction, when you see the house placement, then things just add on, predictions add on, they don't change ever. Remember, astrology is 1 plus 1. It's never either or 1 minus 1 or something like that. It's always 1 plus 1. So whatever information you will be receiving here, you have to add it on as per the conjunction, the house placements. Okay, so what does a debilitation means and what does a retrogression means? We are not predicting the retrogression based on transit. We are simply talking about a retrograde planet in your chart, which is also debilitated. So we need to understand the definition of debilitation and retrogression in the simplest form ever. Debilitation simply means when a planet loses its strength or is unable to express itself at the max. So any planet, when it goes into a debilitation sign, that means its qualities do not gel in very well with that zodiac sign. That's why it takes a lot of effort for it to give its expression, to give its significances. So it's like there's a hard work that this planet has to do. So things are not easy for this planet. It has to adjust with the uncomfortable circumstances for that matter. Whereas retrogression means that the planet reverses its motion. It becomes, it starts moving backward, but it becomes more inward. Retrograde planets bring in heavy karma associated with them. Heavy karma because in the past life, you did not fulfill this karma. You were unable to appreciate or get done with certain karmas, which now you have to take into consideration in this life. So you go into that karmic patterns, you go into that karmic loop so as to get those karmas fulfilled. That's why you get a retrograde planet. But simply, when a planet goes retrograde, it reverses its motion and it becomes more closer to the earth. That's why it has more impact on your life, because why we are here as souls, why we are here as human beings, we are here to fulfill our karma. We are here to get done with all the past karmic records. And Since we have a karmic planet, we are going to deal with it for most of the time in our life. That's why a retrograde planet becomes extremely important in our life. And when are you going to see the effect of this retrograde planet, which is also debilitated? That is when it gets activated by transit or it gets activated by Maha, Antar, or Pratyantar Dasha. So, whenever this particular planet is going to come into light in your chart, through your birth chart, you are going to start seeing the effect of it. Just also, when this planet becomes activated in the Mahadasha, that is the most important time for this planet to give its effect. In Antardasha and into Pratyantardasha, then it is going to give in a mixed effect along with whatsoever planet is activated in the Mahadasha. Right? So let's go forward with it. So when a planet is debilitated and it goes retrograde, this is actually, I feel this is a very progressive alignment to have for an individual. Now, does that mean that this individual is not going to have problems in their life? Not at all. These are the individuals who are going to have actually the maximum amount of problems in their life. But these people will work towards getting or rising above those obstacles, above those problems. Right? This is like a scenario when you can take an example of any celebrity. I did have an example into my mind. Like I saw Karan Johar's Coffee with Karan sometime back, like a few months back. It was, I think, either it was who was it? Who was it? It was a very, yeah, Rohit Shetty. It was Rohit Shetty who was giving his biopic, kind of like he was telling his story, basically his story, that how even though he was a, you know, a son of I think a producer or a director, I just don't get to remember things, but there was something like this. He was telling about his struggles. He was in the episode with Ajay Devgan, and both of them were actually talking about their struggles. Rohit Shetty was telling that, yes, I struggled. I used to belong to a very a family with a very low income, and then I rised above it and I started making movies. Some of them were flop, and then he started getting that recognition. So this is the kind of placement, that can give you a scenario like this. This is a kind of placement which can make you from rags to riches, and even can take you from riches to rags, right? But the concept is that this particular placement makes you evolve. When you have a planet which is debilitated, right, it becomes weak, it loses its strength. But when it becomes retrograde, it reverses itself, it goes way within and starts struggling and starts fighting that struggle, starts fighting that obstacle, so as to come out of it gracefully. So that's why this placement is the one who can make you grow out of the worst situations. Debilitation plus retrogression simply means that this is your time to stop, pause, and reflect your actions and make them your strength. So you use the weaknesses of the debilitations of those planets so as to make them or make those qualities to be your strength. That's what a planet which is debilitated and retrograde does. So retrograde, there's also one concept that you might have heard a lot many times and read online as well, that they say that whenever a debilitated planet goes retrograde, it acts like a exalted one. Now, I would say that this statement is not completely true, but it's not completely false as well. It's like partially true, partially false. What is there that it makes you struggle? So it gives you 50% effect of the debilitation, it gives you 50% effect of the exaltation. But in between is the journey that you go through. You start with all the struggles, you start with transformations, evolvement, everything, and you reach that exaltation stage, or you just find your strength into that debilitation only. That is what this retrogression does. So do not simply refer to your debilitated planet, which is retrograde, to act as a exalted one. That is not the case at all. Otherwise, you would have had that planet in the exaltation at the first place. Okay, so when we have certain alignment, there's some logic that is there. There's some effect that we have to go through that particular scenario, right? Otherwise, you would have simply have the exalted situation. Right? So let's just dive into the planets so that we better address it. We know this is the overview of what this combination does. Now let's apply that on the planets and understand it more from the perspective of that planet. So very first planet we'll talk about is the Guru, the Jupiter. So what is the effect of Guru? Guru is the planet which gives you the life lessons, which rules your belief system, what you believe in, what your life lessons are, or how you perceive a lesson, how you get guided throughout your life, what is your guiding spirit, right? So when Jupiter goes debilitated, that means this Jupiter is in the sign of Capricorn, and then it also goes retrograde. So first of all, having Jupiter in the sign of in the sign of Capricorn, where it is debilitated, this simply means that you take a guru who's a selfless teacher, whose sole purpose to come here is to help, right? Is to just have that free spirited behavior, that optimism, that horizons, that expansive horizons. You put that planet into a zodiac sign which restricts it, which now gives it boundaries, which now takes that guru into a workplace, because Capricorn is the workplace. Capricorn is your career. Now, this guru has to take decisions by being in a restricted environment. That's why Jupiter doesn't feel good here. Jupiter feels good in fire signs, and of course in its exaltation stage in the water signs as well, because there it has the ability to expand itself, it has the ability to express itself, and Jupiter loves expression, Jupiter loves optimism. So you put it into the sign of debilitation, it restricts it, it makes it look into the pessimistic side of the world. What is the practical side of the world? Now this guru has to earn money through its counseling, through its advices. It's no more a free advice anymore. Now this Jupiter becomes extremely practical. Now what if this Jupiter gets retrograde? That means that because of your own fears, because of your restrictions, with your wisdom, with your belief system, you actually master yourself into practicality. You master your belief system through the obstacles or through the negative side of life. You would always see whenever a person has a debilitated Jupiter, they have a tendency to become negative with their thought process. They become fearful, they become cautious. I've actually written all the results. So the first result that I've written is that your misguided beliefs and your misguided lessons actually make you have deep inner wisdom. Like, for example, if we compare that into a very practical example, you get to meet someone, they don't guide you well, you turn yourself into problem because of the wrong guidance, and that is actually the lesson for you. That actually makes you learn that whom you need to trust upon and whom you doesn't need to trust upon, and that establishes your wisdom, that establishes your belief system. And when you have a retrograde debilitated Jupiter, this simply means that through your own fear, through your own restrictions that you put your mind into, those restrictions, those fearfulness, those cautiousness, you rise above it and you become a highly perfected individual. You become a highly practical and a person who takes decisions by giving it a good amount of thought, like intelligent decisions. You value your actions. You become cautious with your actions. So your actions are well thought upon. Now, the next thing is overly, which I told you guys, overly practical and cautious of your actions. This is the benefit of having a debilitated Jupiter as retrograde. You become conscious of your karma. You become conscious of your actions. You no longer just see this thing. Jupiter in the fire signs, right? And a good Jupiter, these people can be brutally honest, can be brutally on the face, and sometimes they do not, or they are not able to differentiate between what the worldly concept is and what the dharmic concept is. So that's why they end up hurting other individuals by their dharma, by their dharmic concepts. Like, for example, you are a person who is fighting for what is right. You're fighting for always speaking the truth. But sometimes this truth might have to be a little compromised so as to, do better for the others. That's what this world is about nowadays. But with a good Jupiter, with a Jupiter in the fire sign, you might not understand that concept. You'll be like, no, this is my dharma. I have to fight for it. So that's where this Jupiter can work well, this debilitated and retrograde Jupiter. You become highly conscious of your actions and of your karma and your belief system, how it is out there. Although this is going to be an individual who's going to be highly practical, who can even be ruthless with their actions, because they would know that this is something I've already got my lessons upon. This is something I've already suffered. So I know this has to be my decision for the benefit of everyone. Right? So next is they feel the urge to find out the lesson or the wisdom from a situation and put that out into their action. Since they are very cautious of their wisdom, they are very cautious of all the lessons they get in their life, they try to retrospect or go within the lessons every time. They go deep into everything and research things about it. So that's why they find that urge that I need to understand all the lessons, all the wisdoms that I get from each and every action of mine. Now, next, they are extra cautious, careful with their public image. Capricorn and Scorpio are the two zodiac signs I'm telling you here right now who are very, very concerned about their social image. And also Leo. They're very concerned, but Leo at after a certain stage, they don't care about it when they actually go through their spiritual transformation. So that's why these people actually become extra cautious with their public image. Look at a person with a debilitated Jupiter. They will be cautious, but they will not be extra cautious with their public image, right? But when it is retrograde, they will be extremely cautious of their public image. And for that, you would always see they have one face which is visible to the public, one face which they are on the inside. So that's the duality they experience with their existence, with their personalities. Okay, I think my camera is getting blurred. Okay, now it's right. Last, they develop strong morals and beliefs over time. this is going to be a highly rigid individual you are going to deal with. You tell them this, this phone is black. You tell them this phone is black, right? They won't believe it. They won't believe you until unless they realize this phone is black. So because of what circumstances they go through in their life, they start developing their own set of beliefs and they become rigid and quite strong with them. Okay, now the next planet would be Venus. I think this is a planet which people would definitely want to know about. Having a debilitated Venus makes you not a hopeless romantic individual. It makes you serious in love, right? Venus in the sign of Virgo is debilitated. It is debilitated because you put a planet which is a planet of love, which is a planet of just enjoying being in that pleasurable moment, being into that relaxation environment, comfortable environment. You put that Venus, you put that planet of luxury into an environment which is a workspace, which is a battleground where you'll have to earn your love, where you'll have to fight for your love. I won't say actually fight, where you'll have to negotiate for your love. Venus being in the sign of Virgo is a person who is serious with their commitments. They might not commit easily, but when they do, they are serious with their commitments. They are perfectionist. They are overcritical. They are over analytical with love. For example, when there is a person with an exalted Venus or Venus in any other placement, you would not be calculative in your relationships. You'll be like, I am here to give my love to you and to receive my love from you, right? So this person, a person with an exalted Venus, their life just turns around their spouses or their partners. They're just oblivion about what's the practical side of relationship. They just know what the lovey-dovey or the imaginative or the honeymoon phase of love is. When you put this Venus into a debilitation zone, this person will be highly critical of their own self-expression, their own expression in love. They'll be critical of that. And of course, they'll be very picky with the partner they choose. They'll be very picky and over analytical with you. They will be like that, I am going to see what do you bring on the table for me out of this relationship. They're practical with their concepts of love and relationships. This might, act as like, a very, very weird situation for many people, because when we think about dating, when we think about love situations, we definitely want to have a time which relaxes us, which makes us feel good. But for them, it's a business deal. It's a relationship which is full of service, which is full of commitment. Okay, and when it goes retrograde, this is going to be an individual who is going to pre-plan even how they express themselves in romance. This is going to be an individual who's going to pre-plan every little action, every little thing about the relationship. Like for those who get their prenups done, like those who are very analytical, very picky of the women or men they are going to interact with or get married to. Like, for example, I think that this might sound very, very surreal and very weird. A person who just wants a partner who has a long nose. They're just very picky on what kind of a nose they have. No, I don't know why I thought of this example, but trust me, this is something that can happen. Or they just want the best looking partner. They just want the most professional, good on papers, highly, on point partner for themselves. That's one of the reasons which delays their marriage, which delays their relationships, or which creates them not to settle into any casual relationships in the beginning of their life. So they definitely have a lot of karma with relationships. They are very particular of not getting hurt or not getting deceived in relationships when they have a debilitated Venus along with it being retrograde. But one thing that is beautiful in these people relationship is that they with this journey, with their over analytical behavior, they understand how relationships actually are going to take them towards their spiritual journey. They establish grounds for themselves where after a certain point, and specifically after 25 and 26 years of their age, once Venus matures, they start looking for a sacred union, a sacred romance, a lifetime of romance. Definitely, these are the hardest people to deal with and hardest people to live with. But once you gel in with this individual, this is an individual who's going to make you laugh, who's going to make witty jokes on you, who's going to, just pinpoint on you in the front of public, in the front of everyone. They might not care about what is happening in the surroundings. That's their expression of love. That's the way they love. They become over analytical of you. They become critical of you. If they love you, only then they are going to do this. So that's their expression of love. So now let's talk about the points I've written. Highly critical and love. Highly critical of love. And that's what makes them dive into sacred devotion and sacred relationships. Early heartbreaks and struggles in expressing love. Because of their non-expression in love, because of them being highly critical of love, they lose relationships, or they either break others' heart or they break their own heart in the initial stage of their life, especially before 25, 26. Become someone with refined values and spiritual love. Venus is also one of the planets responsible for your values and traditions, because this is the natural ruler of the second house. That is the reason Venus, debilitated Venus, and that too retrograde, makes you overly concerned about your values that a relationship brings in on the table for you. Is it going to respect your traditions? Is that love going to reciprocate your values? That is going to be a significant thing for you. Fear in love makes them find spiritual bond within love and relationships. Because these people are so fearful of getting hurt and getting deceived in love, they just keep on searching for the right partner, for the trustworthy partner. That's why they end up into a sacred union and into a union where, they feel that the bond is forever. And you know what? This doesn't mean that this person cannot have a divorce. Okay? Rather, if these individuals just get married for the sake of the family, or for the sake of just getting married because the time is running out, these people can end up into divorce. Because, while I was learning astrology, the first thing I learned about the sign of Virgo is that one side of the sign of Virgo is the barren land. The barren land as in the desert. The cold, not cold, the dry place. So Virgos, as important it is for them to become that service oriented individuals, they can easily turn into dry people. They can easily turn into individuals who can be extremely dry and practical with their love situations or with their behavior. They can be rude, they can be dry. And that is something which this creates, that if these people are forced into a union, they are forced into love situation, which is not actually as per their acceptance, they can even be very dry and cold towards that relationship. And they would not even care when they are getting out of it. They will rather, show their competitive spirit there, because sixth house is the natural house of competition. So it's very important for these individuals to marry. It's possibly good for them to marry late, rather to marry the wrong person for them. Next, urge to perfect themselves in love, which ends up in controlling behavior also. Sometimes they are too controlling. Like, for example, I was watching a series with my husband. I think it was The Modern Family, and one of the episodes, there was someone who is so perfected with all the date stuff and everything, like even he was a, I think that was in Modern Family or what. I have very poor memory. I think it was Modern Family only, but I don't remember the name of the character. So it was that this person was planning each and every, even the even the way the other person is going to react to their proposal, that also. So they can be highly critical of each and every action, or each and everything happens in a relationship. That makes them overly controlling also, right? That makes them control freaks also, because this is why OCD happens when there is cluster of planets in the earth sign, especially in the sign of Virgo and Capricorn, because they're highly controlling of their environment. They're highly controlling of whatever there is in the surroundings. That's why the OCD lands in, right? So they can pre-plan things to perfection. They want everything more into perfection. See, Venus debilitated already is about being perfected in relationship or having a perfect partner. But when it is retrograde, it's like your sole purpose is to have a perfectly aligned partner for yourself. Okay, so let's dive into the next planet, which would be Mars. So Mars is a planet of our actions. Mars is the planet of our courage. When Mars goes debilitated in the sign of Cancer, it means now your energy is not going externally, it is not going out. Rather, it's going within. It's going within your home. It's not going out there in the career. Rather, your energy is much required within the home, within your internal self. That's why having Mars debilitated is a very frustrating situation you would have. Like, for example, you have some trauma, you have some inner fear that you have within yourself. Unhealed fear or unhealed trauma is there with a Mars debilitated. Mars debilitation means that your energy is going within the home because there is a lot of disturbance within the home, right? So your actions go within. You are somehow, sometimes forced by the circumstances to hold down your actions. You're not free with your actions, right? You don't have those opportunities or expanded horizons to express yourself, express your actions. That's when Mars is debilitated for you. So now if you have a debilitated Mars along with it being retrograde, this can actually work nicely for some individuals. It makes you master your emotional self. It makes you take actions which are well thought upon. Having Mars in debilitation stage means that you are a person who is going to show off that, yes, this is what I'm going to do for you and being humanitarian for you. But most of your things are in your communication, in your words, but not in your actions. That's what a debilitated Mars means. So these individuals do want to do a lot of things, but they just have a little bit of fear with actions. They have a fear. These are the individuals who are going to cry out of anger. They have so much accumulated within their heart space, within themselves. They're not the ones who you go in the front, you say something, and they are going to retaliate it simply at that moment only. No, they would keep it inside. They would just accumulate it like a pile of books. And once it is, overflowed, when it is the time for it to just, break down, that is the time when they break into tears. Now, when this Mars is retrograde and debilitated, what does it mean? This is emotionally explosive. Mars in debilitation in Cancer is emotionally explosive. And their emotionally explosive reactions are actually going to be the catalyst for them to master their emotions, to master and basically master their control over their emotions. If we compare this to a person who is simply having Mars in Cancer, they might not have the control on their emotions. That is something they have to deal with all their life, the turmoils, the ups and downs with their emotional state, the frustration that they have within them because of lack of action. But when this is retrograde, it makes you struggle. It makes you fight that struggle. It makes you fight that struggle and come out with mastery over your emotional state and mastery over your actions. You do bring out your actions, but in a very diplomatic and manipulative way. And that's rather very much stronger and intelligent than Mars being in a fire sign or in any other situation. Okay, so first thing is emotionally explosive, but this helps them become emotionally wise in their life. Another thing is they learn to master their actions within themselves. They learn to master their fears. Mars being in the sign of Cancer, your energy goes towards your fears. That's why you become controlling, protective towards others, the ones you loved, and towards your own heart space, towards your own self as well. But when it is retrograde, just a second. Yeah. But when it is retrograde, it simply means that you do that in a very strategic, intelligent, in a very, in a way which is well appreciated. You will not be addressed as a controlling man or woman. Rather, you will take it out in a very strategic manner where people will be like, oh, this person is so caring. Oh, this person is so, so pampering or something like that. So now you mix your strategic mind, your manipulative mind, along with your actions and also the emotional appreciation. But definitely, this is a placement where you basically give a direction to your frustration. You have a lot of frustration within you. You have a lot of situations in your life where you are unable to express, unable to take certain action, and you definitely have your karma with your courage. You're not a courageous person, but when when this placement comes into retrogression, you will have to fight yourself. You'll have to fight yourself for courage. You'll have to fight yourself. You have to fight your fears. Okay, so that's a roller coaster that goes within you, and you struggle with that. At the same time, you're fighting with that. You're improving yourself with that. Okay, so next we have become strategic, protective, and master their actions, aggression, and their anger because of their inner warfare or their home situation. They are silent warriors. The warriors, like today I was scrolling through Instagram, and I landed upon one story of an individual who according to their parents, and it was his sister who was giving all that information, that he was a very bright student, a very ambitious one, wanted to become a doctor, was going for his NEET exam. I think that's how you spell it. So she was like that in the morning he was so uh, motivated. He was telling that this time I'm going to clear it, and this is like I'm highly prepared for this exam. And he went away. He went on the bus, and after some time they received the call, and he told them that I'm going to drop off this bus. I'm not going to give the exam, but I'm going to come back soon. I'm going somewhere. So silently he was struggling, right? Silently he was struggling, but he was not showing that upfront. And then the sister of this individual is basically finding him, and she was using this platform, social media platform, Instagram, so as to spread this news, so that if they got to know about this person, they let them know. So that is I'm just addressing this example so as to let you know that there's a lot of things that are going in between, or in within this person. They're fighting their own struggles, they're fighting their own battles, but these are the individuals who will constantly fight it and come out gracefully. Even the people with debilitation would also do that if their moon is very nicely placed. If suppose their moon is an exalted sign of Mars, if they are directly opposite, they have their moon in the sign of Capricorn, they definitely put up a fight out of their emotions. They don't go for that, they're silent warriors. And similarly, these people are also silent warriors. Next, they learn to adapt through their emotional and internal transformation. So that's about a Mars, which is debilitated and retrograde. Now, next we have Mercury. So Mercury is the planet of our intellect, our thinking, communication, our attention to details, adaptability. Hence, Mercury is the most important planet for any individual. It is the planet of our business skills, marketing skills, communication skills, our skills in general, our attention to details, our observance, adaptability, our jealousy, our mindset, intellect, not the belief system, but the mindset. The kind of, or the wires of our mind which make us make us trigger some ideas or trigger actions. That journey is Mercury. So if we have Mercury debilitated in the sign of Pisces, what does it mean? You put this Mercury, which is a planet of logic, a planet of observance, a planet of logic and ideas, intellect, intelligence, you put that into a emotional warfare, emotional zone, an ocean, which is very unexpected, which has unexpected tides, unexpected fluctuations. Now, this Mercury has to be rather more quick with its decisions, more quick with its energy, with its intellect. So that's why this is a person who becomes overthinker, who are constantly thinking, while even if we are talking one-on-one, this person is going to be thinking something on the side, something on the end. Their mind is always working, their mind is always operational, because 12th house, or the sign of Pisces, is the subconscious mind. And you're putting the planet, the wobbly planet, the planet who's always on a go, who's always occupied into doing something, who's curious about everything, you put that in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is always curious to learn, curious to do certain things. So that's why the overthinking come in. That's why the overthinking of every little action, little subject comes in. Okay, so Mercury being debilitated and retrograde. First of all, being debilitated, it creates a lot of chaos and confusion in a person's mind. Being retrograde, you deal with that chaos and confusion and you bring out your imagination. You bring out your creative ideas. I've always been saying, I think since a very long time, I've been telling, no, my hair are not that short. I think in this video, you guys might be having the idea that I've taken, my hair short, but it's actually like this. But I'm liking how it is looking like this on me. I wanted to get them this short, but my husband is not just feeling well about it. He's like that you would not look good. And certainly I also feel that I won't look very much good if I have just this much hair. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking that my video might also go viral, just like Alia Bhatt, where she was telling that her husband does not like lipstick on her. But I think that is not that we are being controlled by our husbands, but that is our love, that we love to take advices from them. And even my husband takes every single piece of advice from me. So I think that's how we people are bonded with love. And we show them by making certain decisions, by taking into consideration our life partner, our other half, right? So Mercury. Confusion, first thing I would say, confusion leads to becoming creative geniuses. I've always been talking about having Mercury as debilitated makes a very good, on point, imaginative individual who can be novelists, who can be storytellers, who can be story writers, who can be directors, producers, right? These people are very good with their creative elements. They are very keen with their creative elements, and they definitely are very good comedians. So when this goes retrograde, these people actually find information out of that confusion and chaos. They find these are the individuals. You see those painters? You see those painters who have those abstract paintings which no one gets to understand that what that painting is about. What is the figure there? That's the kind of creativity these individuals have. They give meaning to the most confusion spaces, to the most confusing knowledge. They give meaning to those creative elements. They're out of the box thinkers. Okay, so next we have that their difficulty in speaking actually transforms them into excellent writers. They feel that they are not the ones who can express their creativity and their intelligent mind through communication. Rather, what they do is they use cinematography, they use pictures, or they use writing, publishing as the part of their creativity, as a part of expressing their creativity, expressing their talents. That's what happens with a retrograde Mercury that is debilitated. So next would be they are misunderstood in their communication, but they are intuitive communicators. With this, I can recall a movie called as Life or Something Like It, of I think Angelina Jolie and Tony Selhope, I guess. He's a fine actor. I and my husband, we absolutely love that actor, and I think we have watched his show, The Monk Last Case, the movie, and this movie as well. He's an absolute piece of work, I feel. But if you see this movie, Life or Something Like It, you see Tony Selhope is about in this movie he's about making predictions for the life of Angelina Jolie, and he just makes a prediction as if Angelina Jolie, she's a reporter, she's a person who is a anchor, right, a news reporter, and he predicted her death And that was the whole journey that was reflected in this movie, about what happens till the day, and then how she comes back in life and something, things like this. You can go and watch that movie. It's a beautiful piece of work. So this is something that comes into my mind when I talk about Mercury being debilitated and also being retrograde. These people might not be able to communicate what they actually want to say, because they do have a lot of intuitive information. They have intuitive communications within them. These are the people who can connect with the astral world. They are the people who can connect with something which is beyond our our understanding, like being able to talk to the ghosts, being able to talk, having intuitions from all sides. Like in this, I have also encountered with people who are tarot card readers, or who are, mystic healers, who can understand the presence of spirits around them. So this could be one of those individuals who can connect with those side of the world, right? So that is what is there. So they are very good healers. They are very good with their intuitive communication. They might not be able to communicate that like in a very logical way, but their own illogicalness has its own beauty, right? Next is they do extremely well in spiritual studies and interpretations. And this is also one of the individuals who are going to be highly conscious of their expenses. They are going to be highly analytical of their expenses. This is not an exalted Mercury, right? But having Mercury in the sign of Pisces and having it retrograde means you give a lot of attention to the 12th house matters. You give attention to creativity, you give attention to imagination. You are very concerned and sleek about it, you're very analytical about it, but at the same time you're very conscious of your spending habits. You're very overly analytical about your documentations, about your documents. You want communications to be precise. You want your communications to have to you this is a person who will always have their mind to understand what is beneath of the communication. One is what is happening up front, and what is the agenda on the back end. That is what they pay attention to. They understand. They are very good at understanding the psychology of other individuals, so they can be excellent therapists, excellent astrologers, excellent healers, and excellent like counselors, psychiatrists. Okay, so lastly we have the planet Saturn. And I think most of the individuals, I think born between 2000 till 2002, they do have debilitated Saturn, along with retrogression for some population. So having Saturn debilitated in the sign of Aries, what does it mean? First, so when Saturn is debilitated, you put a planet of delay, planet of, which is an old soul, a servant, a planet of organization, discipline, into a space where now he has to be responsible for decisions. He has to be as dominating as a leader would be. You put a servant into a leadership role. Simple as that. You make a servant who is dependent upon the commands of their owner. You put them into a situation. Now they have to be the leader. They have to lead. They cannot be dependent on anyone. They have to be dependent on themselves. That's why Saturn feels uncomfortable here, because Saturn is it's not a shadow planet, but it's a planet who loves to be in the shadow. Why Saturn is debilitated in the first house where Sun is exalted? Because Saturn does not want people's attention towards them. It wants to work in the shadow. It wants to work in the back end. It wants to be appreciated, but not directly. It wants to be appreciated for its hard work. Now you put this Saturn into the first house where all the limelight is. Now what happens is they are impatient, they are restless, they are disorganized. With their impatience, with their disorganization, with their restlessness, they actually grow to master discipline, master time management, master organization. So all those things that we know that Saturn debilitation is going to create: disorganization, restlessness, impatient, impulsive behavior, leadership roles, but in a very negative manner, which are led with a negative agendas. Now they use all of those things to master themselves in all of these things. So the very first point I've written is impatient restlessness, but this motivates them into being goal oriented and accomplishing their own goals. They become goal oriented. Having Saturn debilitated, and that too retrograde, is a person who is restless to achieve their goal. If this person has planned that their set of work should be done by 1 p.m., it has to be done by 1 p.m. Saturn is the karka of delays. Saturn is the karka of slow movement, a movement that is established with a lot of thinking, with a lot of considerations. But having Saturn debilitated, and that too retrograde, is an individual who just wants to act upon it. They have an idea, they know they have the capabilities, they want to act upon it. They want to go for it. So this helps them do things on time or even before time. So they are early risers, they are early birds. If suppose the admission of their, they want to have their admissions into some college, right? The admission starts on, for example, 26th date. They're going to start preparing way before that. It starts 9 a.m. in the morning. They'll be there at 8:55 a.m. This is a person who wants to get done with their things. Oh, that's my ear. They want to get done with the things at a very early pace, but also with perfection because of the retrogression. Although if suppose this would have been another person, not with retrogression, just the Saturn debilitation, they will feel restless till the time they do not complete that. And out of that restlessness, they end up, going into that disorganization mode. They want to reach the place by 8:55, but something or the other comes in, their clumsiness comes in, something comes in, and they just reach there by 9:05, 9:15. So they're going ahead, wanting to accomplishing those things, but they are not finding that means to motivate themselves to do that in the right manner. Okay, so that is the difference between a debilitated Saturn and a debilitated Saturn which is retrograde. Okay, so next, with their inability to manage time, to be disciplined, they master over a period of time, I think by the time they are in their 40s, late 40s, they master time management, discipline, organization, and leadership roles. And these are the individuals who are going to start working way ahead of the time. Maybe they start working or start just planning out how they want to lead into their career at the age of 16, 17, 18, even before that. You see those children who are into, like, I remember, again a story. I remember I was scrolling through Instagram, and this is the same video which my husband saw, and he also sent it to me. There was a man who is preparing his son. Like, I don't know what he's preparing him for, but he's keeping him very good with his physique. So every day he posts a video of his life where he wakes up in the morning. I think they live somewhere in the hills. I think somewhere in Jammu or Dehradun, somewhere like that. And they wake up every day. That little champion wakes up every day, go to the gym, and it is in the process of having his abs. Have good food, goes to his school, comes back again, has a session on in the gym with his father, and that's how they portray, how they put a video of his whole day. So that is something which is of a person with a Saturn debilitated and retrograde. That is a very good example. I'm not saying that child has it, but that is a good example of reflecting, showing this, that these children get serious in their life from way before their age. Okay, then this indicates heavy karmic burden, but gives them strength in old age. This definitely calls for heavy karma that they have with Saturn. That's why from an early age, they have to work very hard. You see those celebrities sharing their stories that in a very early age, one of their parents passed away, or someone in their family who was the sole bread earner passed away, or was unable to, earn anymore, and they had to take the responsibility. They had to start working from a minute job to then becoming successful in their late 30s, 40s. That is this individual. This placement gives that, basically. Okay. um this helps them in fighting delays, and their impatience helps them become early risers and early birds. So these people, they get karma on every step. They get retaliation from the universe on every step, and that is what basically helps them in creating a future of a lifetime, especially with their careers, because Saturn is naturally the karka of career. Okay, so guys, this was my analysis on having a debilitated planet and also when it is retrograde. So I hope this gives you good insights into this topic. Genuinely, I felt that this video will be of, approximately just 20 to 25 minutes, but I think I have discussed everything in this video in this regards. So I hope every one of you understands what your karma is with these placements, because these are the most karmic placements you will have. And once you understand what your karma is with these placements, trust me, you're going to have a good understanding to what your life is about, and you'll be able to achieve that, since the beginning or since the time you watch this video. Okay, so all the very best. Bye-bye. Take care. We'll see you in the next video.